Hello friends, welcome to the June edition of the Bearded Naked Video Diary. And what a June it's been. As always, I find myself procrastinating slightly about making these videos. Purely that despite the fact I spend most of my teaching practice online, on camera, in front of loads of people, sitting here in this one-to-one setting, talking into a camera lens with no response, remains a very strange and uncomfortable experience. But that's fine. And in the interests of why I started this diary, to be a little bit more authentic, to put some content out there, to share my journey, my feelings, my highs, my lows, my ups and my downs directly with you. As the I Ching says, perseverance furthers. So June has been a very strange month, and I've written a fair bit this month about identity and how that's viewed in the lens, through the lens of yoga, what that means at that glorious time of the year. I'm recording this, it's the 1st of July, June is gone, you know, the global Pride Month for the LGBTQIA plus community. The official kind of month that we have has kind of come to an end, but there are still a lot of celebrations left to come throughout the year. But talking about those points about identity and how prominent identity has become in our modern society. And again, just looking at that through the lens of yoga, you know, yoga's always taught us to be very, very wary of our identity and don't hold on too fast to something, too tightly to something, because the universe has a way of pulling the rug out from underneath you. When you think you've got it, that's absolutely when you haven't got it. There's a great complexity to this, which I am in no way, shape or form qualified to talk about in terms of that modern context, but certainly in terms of yoga, how we perceive ourselves, what we believe ourselves to be, is often merely a product of social conditioning, our upbringing, culture, all of those kind of different things, the circumstances and things that have happened to us in our life. That is what makes us who we are as a human being, making our way through this temporal world, this temporal consciousness, if you like. But that's waffling a little bit. Needless to say, I think my theme for the month in my writing, and that's translated into some of my personal experiences, identity is a wonderful thing. I think, I forget the name, certainly one of the Greek philosophers or polymaths said, give me a lever and a rock to stand on. Maybe yoga teaches us that actually there was no rock in the first place and there wasn't any need for a lever to begin with. Maybe that's something to think about as these next few weeks unfold. How that's kind of been playing out in my own personal sphere and world, and not wanting to sound like a broken record, but 2025 has thrown up some very interesting little challenges in terms of my perceptions around my physical health, my physical well-being. There's been a lot going on. Nothing serious, and I'll repeat that, nothing serious has happened. It appears on the surface to have been a catalogue of events, one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. And all of them have led me to this day on the 1st of July. And certainly yesterday on the 30th of June, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm rather tired, actually. And that lovely sense of just a real bone weariness of going, you know what, I think it's just time to just take a little step back here and have a little bit of a little bit of a view of what's going on. It's been interesting to observe the machinations of my mind about all of this. My physical health has always generally been absolutely amazing, and touch wood, I've never really had any serious problems going on. I don't think I've ever broken anything. You know, life is good, body is good, and maybe it's something to do, and it keeps coming up in my head. You know, I'm going to be 47 in October, and it's clearly something that's playing on my subconscious. You know, I'm definitely past the halfway point in terms of my temporal existence, which I actually find a little bit of a relief. It's nice to slide down the other side of the mountain, perhaps. You know, it's very unlikely that I will make it into my 90s, I think. But who knows? I'm not saying anything. But it's some of those thoughts, I think, have been creeping in. And I'm kind of like, you know, yeah, this is the kind of age where, you know, things start to make themselves known. And however well you might sort of looked after yourself throughout your life, you know, there's always something, isn't there? There's always something. We're very, very privileged um, in this time to live for so long. You know, it wasn't that long ago that someone of my age would have been considered quite elderly. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm not. That's the thing. But again, you know, that's all about perspective. It's all about society and where we're living, when we're living. Anyway, needless to say, it's been one of those months where there's been a couple of other little things, one after the other, and it's kind of felt pretty heavy. And I've decided I made a decision to kind of not counteract some of it, but any of you that have been following me for a while, any of you that have taken my classes or come on one of my retreats will know that I am a huge advocate for meditation. The principles, the practices, the philosophy behind it, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again, meditation is the heart of yoga. Forget the bending, forget anything else. It's all a funnel to get you to meditate, to become aware, to cultivate your awareness, and to keep cultivating that awareness. Whether or not there's some mythical point of samadhi or enlightenment or santosha or, you know, satori, if you want to call it that, you know, that's irrelevant to it all. Maybe there's no ultimate aim in all of that. Maybe it's simply about opening your eyes and being present. That to me has always been the principle of it. Anyway, waffling again. So for the last 28 days, I set myself a very personal intention that I was going to expand my meditation practice to twice a day. I'm going to do the morning and I was going to do the evening. There's a wonderful set of practices within meditation where you do contemplate your own mortality. And there's a wonderful, wonderful saying by a Buddhist monk, Pema Chodron, I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. And it's something that's always stuck with me for a very long time, actually, probably since I turned about 40. That was everything that you love, everyone that you love, everything that you love to do is going to fade away from this world. And within a very short space of time, no one's going to remember you at all. And with that in mind, what's the most important thing? And that really struck a chord with me at the end of last month. It's kind of popped up into my head in my practice again, as it does occasionally. What is the most important thing? Now, that important thing is going to change for everyone. It's going to be completely different for everyone. First, my response to that inquiry. What's the most important thing? Peace. For me, it's peace. That equanimity, my meditation practice, my understanding of myself, my continual journey of understanding of myself, that is the most important thing. And within my eye, that's the only thing. So I wanted to go a little further into that, maybe go a little deeper, maybe shed some more layers, maybe slice right to the center of the onion. Fuck the layers, go straight to the heart of the matter. And so that's what I've been doing, and it's been beautiful. It's been disastrous. It's been spectacular to watch. And a phrase popped up, a few words popped up into my head when I'd started this increased frequency of practice. Was I had an understanding that to meditate, the action of meditating, to come and sit, take your posture, to do your practice, is a very important part of the whole of meditation. But the actual act of meditating in itself is rather like standing on the edge of a lake with a completely smooth surface. And the meditation is a stone. You throw that stone into the middle of the lake. And when you walk away from the edge of the lake, all that's left behind you are the ripples, and the ripples continue. And that's how it feels that meditation is. It's ripples upon the surface of the lake. The act of the doing, the actual doing of the practice, is that stone that's thrown into the center of the lake. The interesting part, the beautiful part, is what happens when you get up and you walk away from your cushion. And you continue with that sense of observation, you continue with that sense of watching what's going on, being that witness, just calmly making your way through the day, or not calmly making your way through the day, but just being observant, watching. And that's been a very beautiful thing. Our meditation is addictive. And I can already see my little monkey mind is kind of going like, ooh, well, imagine what happens if you go up to 3 times a day. Maybe you could do a little lunchtime practice or something like that. But your meditation should not be a performance. It shouldn't be an endurance sport. I'm often a little bit baffled by Vipassana, something that I have not done. So again, I'm vastly unqualified to talk about that. It does seem a little excessive, doesn't it, really? It's a bit much. It's a bit much. Maybe my little words for this month is this. You can sit on your blog, you can sit on your cushion days, weeks, months, years. You can be the metaphorical yogi or Zen master living in his cave for decades. But all you really need to do is just wake the fuck up and ask yourself, what is the most important thing behind the bullshit, behind the identity, behind everything you have been taught to believe is important in this world? What's the most important thing to you? And if you can find an answer to that, bearing in mind that answer may change over time, but find an answer to it and just go with that. Come to your mat, come to your block, just sit, watch. Life is a series of interesting questions, and there's no more interesting question than that. What is the most important thing? I'm going to go finish my tea. Be peaceful. I will see you towards the end of July. Let's see what the next few weeks holds. Maybe I'll lose a leg by then. Who knows? Thank you, my friends. I love you.